I still believe everything's right in front of us. Our goals are still obtainable. You know, we've got to, yes, we've put ourselves in a hole a little bit.
That hole's more than just a little one. At 3-7, they've got a lot of work to do. Welcome into Teal, the show. Frank, the Jaguars getting off that bye week fresh, getting ready to head down to the final 7 weeks of the season. If we learned anything from the first 10 games, it should be an exciting finish with a lot of close ball games, but it's a tough stretch.
Well, no question. It's a tough 7-game stretch, and it's really a tough 4-game stretch. Think about the next 4 games. The Ravens have won 4 in a row. Next week, you go to play the Lions, who had won 3 in a row and then played very well against the Bills yesterday. Then you've got the Titans in Nashville. You never play very well there. And then the Cowboys are one of the better teams in the league. So the next 4 games are as brutal as any 4-game stretch the Jags have faced all year. And frankly, Jamal, in recent years, it's really a tough stretch.
Yeah, despite the tough stretch on the schedule on paper, the Jaguars still believe their goals are in front of them. And some players in the locker room even using the word playoffs this week.
That's the first goal we talked about when we got in the building together is, being able to, 1, to win our division, and 2, get into the playoffs. And so that's what everybody wants where everybody wants to go.
The one thing that everybody keeps saying is playoffs. What makes the confidence in this team that you guys can go on that run so strong?
We know what we're capable of. We know we have the guys, the coaches. We just got to continue to put everything together and finish the games and make smart decisions, and we'll be fine.
Do you think this team has what it takes to make that run late in the season to kind of get into the postseason?
I'm encouraged by the attitude of the team. I think they're in the right frame of mind, and anything's possible. I've seen it. I've experienced it in this league. You get a little luck on your side. The ball bounces your way, and anything's possible. But we're just taking it one game at a time right now, and we're focused on Baltimore.
If the Jaguars are going to try and get hot down the stretch and make a run toward the playoffs, which is tough to believe at this point, they are going to have to slow down Lamar Jackson this week. Lamar Jackson, not exactly your normal quarterback you see in the NFL. He's a different kind of threat.
I think he's changed the league. I think he's changed the way people play in the NFL. I think he's changed the way quarterbacks play. He's given running quarterbacks an opportunity to play. He's proven you can do it this way. It doesn't have to be drop back in the pocket, not run very much, run every now and then, but really win in the pocket. Now, I still think that's the best way to win, and that's what most quarterbacks do, but he's proven you can win a different way by being maybe a better runner than passer. He's actually good at both. He's a really hard guy to contain. Jamal, you got to keep him in front of you. Everything's got to stay in front. You got to keep an eye on him. That's why zone defenses are better, because people can watch Lamar Jackson. He's really good.
And the Jaguars have struggled with mobile quarterbacks so far this season, but they believe that they have a plan in place to hopefully be able to slow him down this week.
He's a quarterback that does have a skill set that typical quarterbacks don't have, and it's tough because you have to have enough guys on the field that can catch him, and the guys on the field that are bigger than him have to be able to understand how to keep him in the pocket and not let him get out there. So it's a challenge.
He's a great player, and listen, you got to go play, and just trust your instinct, trust your technique, trust how you've been coached during the week, and try to corral the guy. He's a tremendous athlete, both with his legs and throwing the football, but you just got to go execute your game plan.
Another player coming to town this week. It's a return for Calais Campbell to Jacksonville. The mayor coming back, but wearing the other jersey. I know a lot of people were upset when Calais Campbell was traded to the Ravens a couple of years ago, but now he gets to come back, and I guess the fans get to say hello.
The cliche is great player, even better guy. You hear that about a lot of people. Calais Campbell is that. Great player, even better guy. He is such a good guy. Do you realize he's about to have 100 sacks, which would make you one of the few in the league that have done it? 31 and a half of those sacks were here in Jacksonville. Not only a good player here and part of one of the really good teams here, but the way he handles himself, the respect, the dignity, the way he was, how involved he was in the community. It'll be great just to see Calais. I hated that he's playing for the other guys, but it'll be great to see him. I'm glad he's coming back. I hope he doesn't have a very good game this game, but he's been a terrific player. He really has.
Well, now I know while Jags fans aren't necessarily excited to see him on the other sideline, he did give Jaguars fans a reason to be excited this week. He's very excited to see the play of Travis Etienne. He compared him to one of the top running backs in the NFL and said he's even faster than that guy earlier this week.
The guy is really good. I'm a football fan, so I kind of always follow stuff going on in the league. And I was a big, James Robinson fan. I feel like he was balling. And for them to trade him, I was like, this guy must be doing something good in practice. And so, but then you turn the tape on, and it's like, wow. I mean, the way he hits the hole, his acceleration, he has a different gear, like right away, that is unique. I mean, mean stiff arm. You know, he's a tough tackle, has great contact balance. I mean, our coaches compared him to Alvin Kamara, but faster. And I'm like, yo, I mean, that's a good comparison because he really has that kind of balance where he's just a tough tackle. But then, I mean, that acceleration is so unique, and he has pretty good vision. You know, I mean, he's all around back. I mean, he's special.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you're Alvin Kamara, you're good, period. If you're Alvin Kamara and even faster, you're really good. But I agree about Etienne. That was the comp, by the way. Everybody said he was like Kamara. I think he's a really good player. Just don't run him too much. That's been my fear. I've told you that before. That's my big fear. He's a really good player.
Yeah, if he can get to that Alvin Kamara type impact level, the Jaguars will be in good shape, and there's a new running back in town that might be able to take a little bit of that pressure off Travis Etienne. Not this week, but maybe in a few weeks. We'll talk a little bit more about what the Jaguars need to do on Sunday to walk off with a win. That's when Teal the Show returns right after the break. Welcome back into Teal the Show. Now's the time where we kind of talk a little bit about what has to happen for the Jaguars to walk off with a W. It's only worked out 3 times so far this year, so maybe Sunday can be number 4, but if they're going to do that, they have to find a way to contain Lamar Jackson. He was on the injury report for the Ravens earlier this week with a hip. If that hip can slow him down running the ball, that would definitely be good news for the Jaguars.
No question about it. I think there's a couple keys to this game, Joel. Obviously, number 1, you got to control Lamar Jackson. Keep him in front of you. Don't let him beat you with his legs. Make them be a passing team. They're big, they're physical, they want to run the football. That's the obvious thing. The other thing is I think Trevor Lawrence has to have a big game. I don't think you're going to run a bunch against the Ravens. They're tough. That's just a tough physical team. They stop the run first and foremost. They're old school. I think a big game for Trevor Lawrence. I think so, and I think a few plays down the field. The one thing the Jags haven't done as well is hit plays down the field. So I think Trevor, some plays down the field, keep Lamar in front of you. It's a tough task. This is a really good Ravens team. It's a Ravens team that knows how to win. That's what makes them so very good. So I think it's a tough challenge.
You know, you mentioned that down the field passing, and it's been a problem all year long, but we saw some sparks of it against the Chiefs. There were opportunities there. There was the one that I think Christian Kirk should have hauled in. That would have been a touchdown to start the game. There were a few other plays that were down the field. Now, obviously, the Chiefs were in the lead and the Jaguars were trailing and trying to come back, but maybe those are some of those bright spots that if we can see them a little bit more consistently down the stretch, all of a sudden maybe the Jaguars' fortunes can change a little bit.
Well, there's been a lot of bright spots. I think Trevor Lawrence is developing. Christian Kirk is having a year worth all the money everyone talked about. So there's definitely been some bright spots. Nobody would debate that. They got to go down the field. I think Zay Jones is the guy we need to see more from. We're starting to see it from Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram in spots. I want to see some deep balls to Zay Jones. I think it's a big part of what they need to do.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence's play has definitely been getting more consistent as we go through the year. Doug Peterson has been preaching patience. I know nobody ever wants to hear that word when you start talking about teams and wanting to win games. But if you look at this position that the Jaguars are in compared to, I don't know, the team that had the number 2 pick where they just benched their quarterback this week, I'm just saying I'll take Trevor Lawrence right now.
He's right on schedule.
He's right on schedule.
He's right on schedule, and he continues to play well. 13 touchdowns, 6 picks. I keep saying this. 2 of those picks were Hail Marys, so it's really 13-4 in year 2. He's playing very well.
His play is going to be a big part of the Jaguars' future, but so is Travis Etienne. The Chiefs were able to really contain him on the edge, and he's a player that has, self-admitted that at times James Robinson being there helped to hide some of his flaws, which was that inside running game. That's where James Robinson was able to take the load off of him. Travis is going to have to get a little bit better running in between those tackles now that teams are taking away the edges because they're fearing that speed and that pop that he has out there.
No question. I think he runs okay between the tackles. Yeah. He hits the hole fast. Now, when you hit the hole fast as he does, that means you hit the hole hard, which means he gets hit hard. Again, I've said along, that's my concern, but I think he's a very good player. I think I've said this before, Jamal, they're going to have to start running him 15 to 17 times a game and throw it to him 6 or 7 rather than running him 22, 23, 25 times a game. But I think that's going to happen. He's fun to watch. We need stars. The Jags haven't had stars. They need stars. Travis Etienne is a bona fide star in the NFL, and I can't wait to watch him continue to develop.
And we'll talk about some Jaguars stars past here in a second before we wrap up the show. But let's talk about this team. They got a rookie and maybe a guy that people hoped would be a budding star in Devin Lloyd. It's not exactly coming together for him just yet. Yeah. This week, Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, another rookie draft pick, a 3rd-round pick, and a 1st-round pick, now switching spots where Chad Muma's going to get the start. Devin Lloyd's going to be coming off the bench for a few plays because Lloyd's just been kind of overwhelmed. We saw this against the Kansas City Chiefs before the bye week. It's a difficult spot for the coaching staff to have to pull the trigger on that. Difficult spot for Devin Lloyd to have to deal with it. Caps off to him the way he has. He's been 100% supportive. Looks like he's locked in. Doug Peterson saying he sees what he needs to from the guy after getting his starting spot pulled from him. But maybe this can be a little bit of time for him to clear his head, because there are definitely high hopes for this guy.
There's two things here at play. Number one, I agree with you. He's got to clear his head. He's spinning right now, man. He's confused. He's spinning. Let him sit and rest and watch from the sideline a little bit. Sometimes that helps players. I don't think they've given up on Devin Lloyd at all. So part of it is let him sit and rest and clear his head while somebody else is playing. The other thing is they've got to see what they've got in Chad Muma. They drafted him high, too. He's a good player. He's tough. He's physical. He's very good against the run. So I think part of it is letting Devin Lloyd relax a little bit. Part of it is seeing what they've got in Chad Muma, and I think they're going to do that. We'll find that out, or a little bit more about that this week.
Yeah, we'll get a good glimpse at that. I didn't expect it to be this soon that we'd be getting that look at Muma, and it's not necessarily a good thing, but it is good that you'll find out just what kind of player you have in him if you can this week. This is a tough spot for him because those linebackers are going to get tested by this Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens running game. Those guys are going to have to be on their toes.
Yeah, it's a team that runs the ball, and they want to run it. The Ravens want to run it. Hollywood Brown's not there anymore. They don't have great wide receivers. Mark Andrews, the tight end, is their best receiver. They want to run the ball and play physical football.
All right, outside of Sunday's game, we'll pick the game here in a second. I want to give a shout-out to Fred Taylor, who is now a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Again, still hasn't got in. Obviously, Tony Baselli was the first Jaguars player to get in there last year. Fred Taylor made that semifinalist list, and part of the thing that brought this to my mind was the fact that Jimmy Smith not on the list. And, of course, everyone talks about the great game he had against that 2000 Baltimore Ravens team. And the Ravens 2000 defense is one of the best defenses in NFL history. We got to get Jimmy Smith on that list. Tony Baselli keeps saying that he wants to see Jimmy get in there. He also wants to see Fred get in there. Maybe we can do Duval and Canton back-to-back years if this can be the call for Fred.
I hope Jimmy gets in at some point, and I think he will. Fred needs to go in.
Yes.
I think Fred will be the next running back in. I think the next time a running back goes in, it'll be Fred Taylor. He's long overdue. He's going to go in. He needs to go in. I don't know if it's this year, but it might be. But it's going to be within the next few years. There's no doubt about that, at least with Fred Taylor.
We need some more Teal in Canton. I'm saying it now. All right, Frank, it's time to pick the game. Jaguars, Ravens. The Jaguars have now had 2 weeks to prepare for this, even though Doug Peterson said the bye week was more about self-reflection than looking ahead to the Ravens. Do you think the Jaguars can pull off a win this week?
I'm going to pick the Ravens because it's hard to pick against them. They're a really good team. They're the best team in their division. They're one of the perennially tough-nosed teams, and it's just hard to pick them to lose the game. But the Jaguars have a winning record overall against the Ravens. They tend to play well against them. My gut tells me this is a good game. I think they'll play it'll be a very close game. I think it's a fourth-quarter game. It's almost a coin flip game because the Jags play well against Baltimore, but it's hard not to pick the Ravens.
I'm with you. I think this one will be a lot closer than maybe people expect it to be, probably going down to the end, and it'll end up being some Lamar Jackson heroics. The Jaguars have just struggled to contain those rushing quarterbacks all season long, and Lamar Jackson is probably the most dynamic running quarterback in the league, and he can do it with his arm. And if Mark Andrews is on the field, then that's another asset of that offense that the Jaguars have to find a way to control, and it's just a lot. I don't think the defense has the tools right now to really be able to corral and slow down this Ravens rushing attack, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how it happens. But Frank Frangie and I both think the Jaguars come up with an L this week. Maybe they can get a win the week after, or maybe we'll both be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for tuning in tonight, Frank. Thanks for being here. Good night, and go Jags.